Hi, I'm Maya, and today I want to talk about a few of my favorite classics. These are the books that have stood the test of time, and there's a reason why. There's a reason that hundreds of years later, in most of the cases, some of them are a bit more recent than that, but there's a reason that for decades, if not centuries, people have read these books, have enjoyed them, have felt connected to them, have been drawn to them. Scholars have dissected them and dedicated years of their lives to interpreting them, researching them. And these are books that are some of my favorites, that I had the time of my life reading them, and that I feel like really changed me and molded me as a person. When I read a classic book, when I read a piece of true literature, it just makes me feel good. I can feel my brain cells strengthening. I cannot recommend classics enough. I feel like everyone should read classics. I think it's good that we're required to read them in school, and I feel like you should go out of your way to read them, and you shouldn't just be forced or bullied into reading them. You should read them because you want to, because they will make your life better. So I'll get off my soapbox now and just talk about these books. We are starting off with The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I don't think Hester Prynne, however you pronounce it, I don't think Hester is a figure to point a finger at, to say, oh, that's what not to do. I think she is a very human, complex character who is just a normal human being. She's an adulteress. She has to wear a scarlet letter A on her clothes so that everyone who sees her knows what her sins are. I think her bravery is admirable. I think that her strength and her sense of self are truly inspiring and are qualities that I would like to have as a woman. It is just a well-written, well-crafted work of art. I had to read a few of Nathaniel Hawthorne's short stories for a class that I took in college, and just everything he writes has this wonderful quality to it. When I think about this book, I always think about the opening scene. The opening chapter is just him describing the jail, and it's amazing. It's him describing the wood and the iron and every part of the jail. And it's like a character, it's like a human being. And just his description is amazing because he's just describing a structure, right? He's not describing a battle or a person or anything that you would think would be the way to start off a novel. Not even like a vista, like not even a piece of nature, like a mountain or an ocean or something. He is describing a man-made structure, and it's like poetry. I wish I could just have you like plug into my brain so you can know what I'm talking about. I guess the closest thing I can do to that is just to have you read it. Read it, and maybe you'll understand what I'm saying. I love Pearl, that is Hester's daughter. Their relationship is so fascinating. I want to reread it now that I have a daughter of my own. I feel like I would take even more away from this. Yeah. If you're a religious person, there's so much to take from this. Quotes from the Bible, and also I love how they talk. They say thee and thou. It just feels so old when you're reading it. It feels so old. What a fascinating time period in history. I just gotta read this. Okay. The Scarlet Letter, okay, this is the end. This is the last page and a half of the whole thing. So this is Hester at the end. The Scarlet Letter ceased to be a stigma which attracted the world's scorn and bitterness, and became a type of something to be sorrowed over and looked upon with awe, yet with reverence too. And as Hester had no selfish ends nor lived in any measure for her own profit and enjoyment, people brought all their sorrows and perplexities and besought her counsel, as one who had herself gone through a mighty trouble. Women, more especially, in the continually recurring trials of wounded, wasted, wronged, misplaced, or erring in sinful passion, or with the dreary burden of a heart unyielded, because unvalued and unsought, came to Hester's cottage demanding why they were so wretched and what the remedy. Hester comforted and counseled them as best she might. Okay, so it's women helping women. It's Hester helping other women get through their trials because she has been through one of her own. She's amazing. She's an amazing figure. I feel like I'm rambling, I'm talking too much about this one. It's just really good, and you should read it if you weren't forced to read it in high school. You might learn something if you do. This next one is one that I read in high school as part of my AP English Lit class. Is that it? Or is it English Lang? I think it's English Lit. Lang is the one where you write, right? It's been so long. English Lit, yeah. Okay, AP Lit. We had to read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and it blew my mind. They have a special drug called Soma, and there's like this line where it said, "Soma is Christianity without the tears." Wow. That line really stuck out to me as a teenager. Yeah, you can just skip to being an enlightened being without having to work for it. What a concept. Yeah, the back here says, "I don't want comfort, I want God. I want poetry, I want real danger, I want freedom, I want goodness, I want sin." So basically, this is set in a far-flung future in this utopian society, which we soon come to discover is actually a dystopian society. This book is very similar to Fahrenheit 451 and like all of those type of books. But I personally like it more than Fahrenheit 451. Not to say that I'm not a Ray Bradbury fan, because I am. I especially love his collection of short stories called The October Country. I've talked about that on my channel. Definitely check that out if you haven't. He's an amazing writer. So love Ray Bradbury. Not saying a word against him. But if I had to like pick my favorite dystopian classic, I'd have to say Brave New World. Just because I feel like it's broader topics explored, like a broader range of questions about like ethics, religion, science, just everything. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it has a broader scope. Anyway, really good book. Definitely recommend. So this next one is the last one here that I'm talking about that I had to read in high school. And then we'll get into some ones that I just read for fun after high school. It is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I mean, what can I say about this book that hasn't already been said? There's nothing for me to say. Just that if you haven't read it, what are you doing? It's about a black man who is accused of raping a white woman. Every American should read this for sure, but I also feel it's like every person should read it. Yeah, the American justice system, the racism that is baked into America. It's good to think about these things, to learn about these things. It's inflammatory. It's also a snapshot of this era. It's a mirror held up for the reader to examine their own prejudices. It's also about childhood and innocence and the mind of a child, the point of view of a child, democracy, crime and punishment, right and wrong, defending the defenseless, standing up for what's right, developing your moral character. It's violent, it's ugly, but it's also comforting and beautiful. It just encompasses the whole range of human emotion. It's truly a masterpiece. It just sets the standard for courtroom drama. It makes you mad, it makes you cry, it makes you laugh sometimes. It's just a lovely, lovely artwork. Atticus Finch, Scout Finch, Jem Finch, Boo Radley, like the ham costume, the hole in the tree, the courtroom. Like when I say these things, they're just so iconic. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Just amazing. Okay, so those are the ones that I had to read in school. And now I'm going to talk about the ones that I read for fun. I'll start off with Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Talk about iconic, right? Keeping your wife locked up in your attic. Come on. Like the gothic setting of the misty moors. It's just very, 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 very good. Jane is such an admirable character. Her strength and her resolve and her moral compass and her self-respect and determination, just all of it. She is an amazing figure in literature. And there are so many good quotes. Paraphrasing here, but the one about her not being a bird, that no net ensnares her. She's a free, independent person with her own will. Then later, when she says that she is her husband's life as much as he is hers, and their love, all of her quotes about how much she loves him and how much he loves her are just achingly beautiful. Yeah, I have like a whole Pinterest board of just Jane Eyre quotes. They're so good. If you're into gothic stuff in any way, you have to read Jane Eyre. If you're into period piece, drama, romance at all, you have to read this book. Like, it's just required reading for anyone who calls themselves an Anglophile. I just want to reread it now. I'm just looking. That's how I feel about all these books. I just want to sit down and reread them right now. Anyway, I'll move on to the next one before I get too carried away. The next one is A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. Dickens is a very cinematic writer, very ahead of his time in the way that he describes and sets up scenes. It's literally like he's looking through a camera. Like, he does like a bird's eye shot, like of us weaving through the city. He has this shot where a woman is at the sink or something and she looks up in the mirror. She sees someone standing behind her. Terrifying, creepy, scary. Like, that's a horror movie technique. Like, that's a jump scare. And he's writing about it hundreds of years ago. I just find that so impressive. I've talked about this in another video, how much I love the concept of like a maiden and her nurse. I love the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. I love the nurse in Robin Hood. There is a nurse in Tale of Two Cities that just has my heart. What an amazing character. What an inspiration. Love her so much. She's probably my favorite character. I mean, the iconic first sentence, right? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. Of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. Wow. I mean, there's a reason that is so iconic. I feel like I've said that word too many times in this video, but all of these books are iconic, all of these authors are iconic, all these characters are iconic, all of these lines and scenes and situations, and they're iconic. Like, they've stood the test of time because they're amazing. Yeah, also I really love the cover. Isn't that ominous? Anyway, it's a great way to learn more about history, like European history, and politics during that time, the culture of England and France during that time. Yeah, I mean, that's another reason to love classics, right? That they're just snapshots of moments in time, of periods that we will never experience ourselves firsthand, but we can receive more insight into them through these books, through preserved words. I think that's another reason why I love classics so much. As someone who's fascinated by history, who wants to learn more about the past, I love that reading a classic novel can take you back to that point in time. Because there's so much to learn. There's so much knowledge out there. And I feel like reading a classic just helps you to feel like you're tapping into it. That, I mean, you're barely scratching the surface, but at least you're scratching it, right? Okay, so that's Tale of Two Cities. The last one I want to talk about is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I have talked about Virginia Woolf on my channel before. I have a whole video about To the Lighthouse that you should check out if you have any interest in Virginia Woolf at all, which you should because she's amazing. Mrs. Dalloway is a treasure, a true pearl in the world of literature. It's just one day in a woman's life. The whole book takes place over the course of one day, which is so unique. I mean, I'm sure other books do that, but all the other ones that I've been talking about in this video, that's not the case. It's just a very distinct story with very memorable characters, Mrs. Dalloway herself and Septimus. Yes, just characters that are distinct not only in what they do and their actions and their thoughts, but just in their descriptions and just in their names, really. Like the name Septimus, like that's a crazy name. And Virginia Woolf did that on purpose. She's just a genius. I just love her. I love her descriptions of London in this book. I did a study abroad there, and so reading her descriptions of streets and parts of town are just make me feel like I'm there again. And yeah, I've underlined a lot. This is my annotated copy. Wow. Her descriptions of human nature, her insight into the human psyche, and the way that we view each other, the way we warp ourselves for other people to suit their wants and needs, blunting the edge of her mind. Wow. Just every line. But also, a big theme in this one is class distinction. And all of her novels, I feel like that's a big thing. Just the upper class, they live so differently from the lower class, obviously. But she explores that a lot. And her books are so British, right? Like, we just learned so much about the British Empire. Why do people throw parties? Why do people get depressed? Why do people get bitter? And just like the concept that the world is a classroom, reveling in the simplicity of life, how we protect people and how we get what we want, how we make sure that other people get what they want. Loneliness. Yeah, lots of questions as I'm flipping through here. Lots of her sentences end with question marks. It's a very reflective book. Infinite richness, this life, mortality, patriotism, nationalism, life and death, repetition, going through the motions. Oh, Virginia. Would love to sit down and chat with her. Talking about Mrs. Dalloway, talking about all of these books has just made me so happy. I just can't get the smile off of my face. I love these books so much. I love what I've learned from them, and I love seeing through these authors' eyes, and I love these stories. I love the way they make me question everything, and they just make me ponder, and I think that's good. I think everyone could do with some more pondering in their life. Those are some classics to get you started if you don't know where to start. I tried to do like a wide range, some more gothic stuff with Jane Eyre, some more science fiction stuff with Brave New World, British stuff, American stuff. Tried to mix it up a little bit. These are all must-reads. I had a wonderful time reading them, and I hope you do too. Thank you so much for watching.